Nuusbulletin for December 31st, 2013. As the new year sweeps across the world and approaches where I am along the east coast of the United States, let's look at some of the headlines around the world, starting first with urgent news emerging from the Middle East. The latest report by an Islamabad-based think tank, the Conflict Monitoring Center, reveals that over 3,300 people have been killed by drone aircraft since 2004. 181 of these deaths occurred in 2013 alone. 21 among them were known to be middle-ranking and high-profile Taliban militants, while the rest were believed to be civilians. In the latest round of leaks emanating from the U.S. government, many drone operators have revealed that drone cameras usually provide unclear video footage, which makes it difficult to detect on camera whether people on the ground are civilians or militants. Apparent tensions between Lebanon and Syria erupt as Lebanese troops fire on Syrian warplanes after they violate the airspace of Lebanon for the first time during the Syrian civil war. Thus far in the civil war, Lebanon and Syria have been fairly cordial, but the tenor of the two countries' relationship may be changing after some high-profile terrorist attacks that are thought to be connected to the instability in Syria have occurred. The war in Syria has been going on since early 2011, when several countries, including Iran, the United States, and Saudi Arabia, have been supporting different factions in the conflict. In weird news, a Florida woman asked her neighbor if she could borrow a tampon. When the woman then entered her neighbor's house, she instead took the woman's iPad. Florida is a tropical American state that is known for the amount of bizarre stories that come out of there. In music news, on the first night of her Las Vegas residency, pop singer Britney Spears brought actor Mario Lopez on stage from the audience, strapped him in bondage gear, and danced with him. Ms. Spears' current album, entitled Britney Jean, currently sits at 27 on the Billboard 200 chart. The singer has had 33 hit singles in the United States. In the Society pages today, the father of American football player Aaron Rodgers has issued a statement in which he says that his son is heterosexual and engaged to what he calls a beautiful Christian woman. The father also sent threatening emails to blogs that had posted on the story and threatened to sue them. This response was prompted by reports circulated on blogs that claimed that Mr. Rodgers had engaged in a romantic relationship with his ex-roommate before the two seemed to drift apart earlier this year. In business news, Steve Toback, writing for FoxBusiness.com, has listed Abercrombie & Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries as the third worst CEO of the year. Controversy has swirled around the clothing retailer after comments made by Mr. Jeffries years ago resurfaced. Those who are not in the company's target demographic were offended by Jeffries' cavalier discussion of the thin customer that he desired that his company targeted. The for-profit educational company behind ITT Technical Institute disclosed on Friday that it had received notice from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that as part of an investigation of for-profit companies' marketing practices, the agency is considering taking legal action against ITT. As for-profit institutions have proliferated in the United States in recent years, they have also come under media scrutiny and have been the subject of several investigations. Pieces on this type of college have found that the owners of for-profit colleges are often essentially manipulating the federal loan system to put money into their own pockets. In media, the latest of the Learning Channel's exploitation television shows, called Sex Sent Me to the ER, will premiere this week. TLC is also the home of Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, Dancing Tweens, Extreme Couponing, Hoarding Buried Alive, I Didn't Know I Was Pregnant, Little Parents Big World, and a show about a man with a scrotum that weighed as much as a child. BuzzFeed has compiled what they call the 20 worst Fox News moments from the past year. The amusing list includes an anchor asserting that YWCA swimming classes for Muslim women was due to Sharia law, popular news anchor Megyn Kelly asserting that the cultural figure Santa Claus and religious prophet Jesus Christ were both Caucasian, and the network-wide policy of referring to a shutdown of government services as a slim down. What is perhaps the most amusing instance included in this list is a column about traditional marriage, which inadvertently featured a picture of a same-sex couple. All in all, at least 70 journalists have lost their lives in the field during 2013, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists. The CPJ also states that 60 journalists have been kidnapped in Syria, and more than half are still missing. High-profile instances of journalists finding themselves in danger included those who worked with leakers, which became a common occurrence in this year. In the USA, winds of up to 40 miles per hour blew over Cape Cod in Massachusetts. This weather system also dumped snow in the state of Vermont and the northern regions. Outgoing New York police chief has called the NYPD a quasi-military organization. Worldwide attention has turned to the tactics of the New York police since 2011, when the NYPD clashed violently with those protesting the economic structure of the United States. Several now infamous videos of police spraying chemicals and beating Occupy Wall Street protesters brought a new awareness to this year's plight of those who would find themselves in opposition to the NYPD. A U.S. federal court judge has ruled today that those who live within a 100-mile radius of the American border fall under what is called a border exemption. Because of this, the ruling states, the laptops, cell phones, and other electronic devices of citizens can be searched and seized without probable cause. This is the latest in a gradual redefining of civil rights and liberties in the United States that began as a response to the terrorist attacks that destroyed the World Trade Towers in New York City. Two New York legislators, Jeff Klein and Dov Hikind, stated their desire to cut off state aid to universities affiliated with the American Studies Association after that group voted to initiate a boycott of universities associated with Israel as a response to apartheid-like conditions in occupied Palestine. The contemporary phase of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict started in 1948 after a United Nations partition plan was adopted. Elsewhere in the Americas, Venezuela's inflation has soared to more than 50% in 2013. The current president, Nicolas Maduro, has stated that this is due to worldwide bourgeois forces trying to take down the current government, while Venezuelan capitalists and American opponents of the Venezuelan government point to that country's price controls and currency as sources of the disruption. Venezuela gained independence from Gran Colombia in 1830. Disgraced Toronto mayor and talk show host Rob Ford has apologized for insinuating a journalist critical of him engaged in sex with children. In his apology delivered at a Toronto City Council meeting yesterday, Ford stated it was never his intention to suggest Dale was a pedophile. Mayor Ford has attracted much attention in the worldwide news media this year due to his use of crack cocaine, his attacks upon enemies, and unhinged and vulgar statements in public. In Asia, communist officials in China claim that Xinjiang's substantial Muslim population are plotting a holy war in the region. Xinjiang became part of the People's Republic of China in 1949 when the Liberation Army seized the territory from a previous Soviet-backed communist state. The province has been the site of political and religious conflict ever since. In Europe, Vladimir Putin says that his country will fight terrorists until there are, quote, none left, although that has arguably never been accomplished by any state in history. Putin's pronouncements mirror those of other leaders like George W. Bush with his war on terror. In countries that have been attacked by terrorists in the past, it is probable but not confirmed that the recent attacks in Russia's south are associated with Islamist rebels who desire that region to secede from Russia. It is now illegal for British citizens to take pictures of any buildings or persons around United States military bases located in the United Kingdom. These bases are thought to be pivotal in conducting drone strikes in Yemen. There are at least 6 military bases belonging to the United States in the UK. Latvia adopts the euro regional currency today. Despite widespread public opposition to this move, the European Union as a whole has experienced a challenging year in general as Greece and Spain, in particular, struggle to recover economically, and the EU seems powerless to aid these states. Latest in the Syrian civil war, the Prime Minister of Syria, Wal al-Halik, thanks Iran, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, collectively known as the BRIC nations, for their support during the civil war, in which the government has been fighting Islamist rebels. These Islamist rebels have been supported by other nations in Europe, the Middle East, and North America. The Syrian civil war began in early 2011 and today is essentially a proxy war in which the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Sunni Gulf states, and the United States are attempting to assert their claimants to the Syrian throne. Since the civil war began, Syria has been the unfortunate site of tragedies committed upon journalists, civilians, soldiers, children, and religious minorities. A summary of recent scientific studies. The American Psychological Association has released a study that says that people who tell themselves to get excited rather than trying to relax can improve their performance during anxiety-inducing activities such as public speaking and math tests. According to a University of Edinburgh study, climate change has not been strongly influenced by variations in heat from the sun. This is challenging a minimally popular theory in the United States that is known as solar warming. A study from the Endocrine Society says that hydraulic fracturing uses many chemicals that can disrupt the body's hormones and may be damaging to people in surrounding areas. Rutgers University published a recent study that says bullying is not only a problem in schools or online among young people, but that bullying in academia is actually more prevalent than has been previously thought. A University of Columbia, British Columbia study says that self-worth is boosts the ability to overcome poverty. High self-worth improves brain functioning by several IQ points and increases the willingness of people to seek help from crucial aid services. Finally, 91 new species of life has been documented in the year 2013. These include 38 different ants, 12 fishes, 14 plants, 8 beetles, 2 spiders, 1 reptile, and 1 amphibian. Finally, taking a look at some recent editorials and opinion media. In a column, Ann Coulter says that the American cultural holiday Kwanzaa was invented by the FBI to, quote, destroy the Black Power movement. Ann Coulter is the author of several books in the United States, including The Case Against Bill Clinton, Treason, and How to Talk to a Liberal If You Must. The Black Power movement is the umbrella term that references several black nationalist activist tendencies that emphasize racial solidarity among African Americans. In America today, people with power are no longer accountable. This means citizens have become subjects, an indication of social collapse, writes U.S.-based economist Paul Craig Roberts in a column published by PressTV on Tuesday. Recent years stand in stark contrast to years prior in the 21st century, he writes in PressTV. That was the news bulletin for this last day of the year 2013. I wish you a very happy, blessed, peaceful new year. And a lovely weekend. I'm sort of sick, so I hope I get better. Very dry, my nose is running. You could probably tell in my voice, but I am going to have a nice few days. I recently graduated college. I'm going to see one of my best friends tomorrow. I'm going to Florida next week, so maybe I'll broadcast from there at some point. I'm hoping to do another in-depth episode of The Word, an analysis episode, maybe with Annika or with Elizabeth. I don't know who will show up, but I'm sure whatever topic we choose will be fairly interesting. And then if I find the time, I'll also do a few more bulletins. But everyone take care, and I hope that 2013 treated you right and that 2014 will do the same and that you will get everything that you do deserve. Okay. Peace and blessings. I'm Jacob Musick.